Go. Okay,
Recording
so
now? Yeah, I see it. Okay.
yes,
Yeah, they're in the
does my
chat.
audio sound good? Or you're not getting any?
Yeah, no,
feedback?
you sound fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
because the
all
washing
sound
machine
good.
is going and there's a baby crying. So
No, I can't
Okay.
hear any of that.
okay,
so.
all right,
No, you're
good,
fine.
good. All right. So let's see. We all watched the greatest movie ever made,
Yeah, the Blue Man Group, right? That's what I saw.
Yeah, Blue Man Group.
Smurfs.
Yeah, Smurfs dances with Smurfs. I think that's the South
the
Park
South Park
episode, right?
Yep. Yeah,
That's
We
hilarious.
should have watched that too, just so we could like see how dated those South Park episodes get, because they're like so
Yeah.
culturally relevant at the time. But then like you go back and watch them, you're like, oh yeah, that was a.
that was
It's
a
like
thing.
it's almost like looking at old memes
Mhm.
where you're
Yeah.
like that was kind of funny, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the Success Baby and the.
It's the episodes that are like not as culturally, like the baseball one.
Mhm.
Like the baseball South Park episode's a classic. Yeah. Anyway.
Mhm.
But yeah. So okay. So we watched Avatar.
Mhm.
Yes, James Cameron's Avatar.
Right, which
James
is apparently getting a sequel next year.
Yeah,
In the
I
year
heard.
after that, who knows?
Well,
Well,
like
we'll see-
right
we'll
now, only
see.
2 and 3 have been greenlit, and apparently,
Okay.
principal photography and filming is finished on 2 and 3 because they were being filmed like at the same time.
Okay.
And so now they're just in like the tireless effort of making.
Do we know like some of the
500.
actors so far?
I think most of the original cast is returning, and apparently, what's his name, is going to be coming back. The guy who was the general, the bad guy.
I thought he died.
I know, but apparently he's credited to be in the sequels, so maybe he comes back as a.
It'll be like a flashback sequence. You know,
Either
That might be it.
that or he's like become one with the planet, and he's gonna return as like a lava monster or something.
even though that's not what happened.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like his body.
Yeah, no, I know exactly
he
what you mean.
He decomposed and became one with the. Anyway, let me start off by saying I did not remember a fucking thing about this movie.
No.
I don't blame you.
I genuinely hadn't seen it since
2010.
2009 is when it came out.
Oh yeah,
but
true.
I literally saw that. Well, I may have seen it in 2010 because
I think we all saw it in. No, you didn't.
I saw it on my own.
Yeah,
in
you would've.
3D, and it was like the
Yeah.
worst thing I could ever remember at the time. Like in 2010, I remember like hating my life for going and seeing it in 3D. 'Cause I was
Right.
just
Yep.
like I was like this the whole time.
Yeah.
I have glasses. I don't know why I just did that bit without it. I was like this the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, but yeah, so I was about to leave for the military too.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's how long ago this was. It's crazy.
Jeez.
What are your y'all's memories from seeing it originally?
So
Wait, hold on. Have either of you seen it since it came out?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so like sporadically over the years, because this was
Yeah.
literally my first time seeing it.
Okay,
in
sporadically, I hadn't seen it in
11
like
years.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it in like 5 or 6 years. So it'd been a while since I last saw it.
pretty much the same.
But I had seen it after the theater.
Okay.
Mhm. There was a lot that I did when I rewatched it. I totally forgot like all that was happening, but I
Yeah,
knew
I didn't
like
remember any.
I knew like what the conflict was. I knew like going into it again with Matthew. I knew like what the plot was. I knew like who the characters were. I knew what was going to happen. But
Yeah, so did I.
there was a lot that I
Yeah.
definitely was like,
Yeah,
oh, I forgot that happens.
I started to remember specific story beats.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
him,
same.
like when he started to like tame the first Icarn or flying bird. I was
Pterodactyl.
like, wait, doesn't he get like the more badass one?
The big
later?
one, yeah, later, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And I watched
Yeah,
it with
well.
Shay, and she had never seen it before.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I can't spoil that because like I was about to be like, doesn't he get the other one? But, so I remembered stuff like
Doesn't he
that.
die?
And I remember this. We're gonna go over everything, but
Yeah, we're gonna.
I
talk
remember
about
for some reason I thought Sigourney Weaver made the transfer. Like she came back alive in her avatar.
it.
Oh,
But I don't remember her dying. I was like, oh, well, that's
Yeah.
weird. Why would they just let her die? Like what?
Yeah.
Like I guess it was just supposed to be an emotional story beat. But I think Sigourney Weaver is slated to come back as well. So
Again,
Mark, you're
could
probably
be a
right.
flashback.
Yeah, it's probably just flashbacks. So anyway, backing up a little bit.
Yeah. who knows?
This is Matthew's recommendation, right?
Yeah, it was.
That's good. I like the idea of like kind of shaking things up with something that we just don't that personally I think is just like left the public conscious like entirely.
It has.
Like,
I mean, it's still like it's still like the most like grossing movie of like
It's insane. I just
ever, but we still
Yeah.
have, but we like all like we don't really talk about it anymore.
Which
See,
is interesting, isn't it? Is the fact that we don't talk about it very much.
yeah, it was definitely, and I did a little bit of reading up as far as like what was on Wikipedia regarding like
course.
marketing and stuff and like reception. And so like they talk about like how it was marketed as this, you just gotta see it. It's like
Yeah,
it's the next big
was.
thing in like visual effects, which is basically how they marketed Titanic and also
Of
Cameron.
course. Yep.
Yeah, but man, I remember at the time not even being like
Excited for
I
it,
gotta see it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like 10 at the time, or
Yeah,
15.
it was huge overseas.
Mhm.
It made like 2/3 of its budget outside of American on
Mhm.
markets. So that's, I guess, I don't know. I mean, I guess that kind of speaks to I know the Chinese market, like they love the Transformers movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if we well, and Transformers movies were coming out before this, weren't they?
Yes, I believe the first one came out a couple years before.
Yeah, but this movie definitely
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it's like targeting any specific audience. Like
No.
that's what's so weird about it.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, it's got like a broad appeal as far as like the story,
Mhm.
I don't know. Y'all feel free to jump in, whatever. Because honestly, I don't have a whole lot to say about this. I mean,
Neither do I.
honestly, I would rather like I like talking about like what even happened.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
a big part of it in regarding like the marketing and like the reception is the 3D billing. Like this was like at the craze of like late 2000, between 2005 2010. 3D was just like the thing, and
That was
like
the
Yeah.
this
thing, yeah.
was this was the movie to see in 3D. Like
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
it was billed as.
Mhm.
And so you
And
had like those $15, $18 tickets just rolling in,
Mhm.
because I feel like you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who saw this movie more than once. Like
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
you've seen it, you've seen it, and it's just like, all right, well, I don't
right.
know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but let's go and let's talk about the plot. We'll just start from the beginning. I don't know what did you guys think for like rewatching
It sure was a movie.
it? Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. Well, I'm kind of in the same boat as you are. Talking about the plot, just kind of walking through. It's about Jake Sully, a war veteran who's been injured, and he's been shipped off to this planet called Pandora. This is in the future of humanity. And his brother, and he's being shipped off because his brother, who was a scientist, was originally supposed to go, but then he died in like a mugging or something along those lines. He was killed for money.
Yeah, they kind of just pass it off, like kind of.
Yeah, that character they pass off, but it's kind of, and they're sending him specifically because even though he doesn't have any scientific experience, because it was his twin brother, so his genetics are the same. He can hook up to the avatar,
which is not entirely true, but it's fine. Like their genomes are identical, and I was like, that's not how it works.
No, it's not. But we'll hand wave that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the plot.
Yeah. Okay. Let's stop there because that was where they kind of, it's kind of a weird approach. Like I thought, like to just be like, oh, it's like they had like these ideas. I don't know. Apparently Cameron wrote like an 80-page treatment for like the movie. So this is like his original vision. Like this movie was in production for like a decade. Like, like after Titanic finished, he was like, I want to make movie with tall blue aliens for some reason, and like in 2005, he started like writing they started like making the language of the Na'vi, which is kind of cool. That's like, Tolkien made like Elvish and all that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of neat. Like, it's weird. Like, it's almost like it's Cameron's passion project. Like, this is what he wants to make.
Well, and that's what everyone says.
It's so bizarre to me. Like, I don't get it. And it's like, so anyway, that being said, like, making Jake Sully like crippled, like, so was he crippled while he was in the Marines?
Yes, he was. It was because he was a veteran. He mentions that the idea because it's like because there's a lot of
He's
like
talking about like how the veterans get forgotten and everything.
yeah, and it was
so that's
like
why
internal.
they find this like mercenary work, right?
Yeah, it's their contract military force for this company.
Right, but they are like the Marines, right?
Yeah, they are trained
it's like-
soldiers.
So the U.S. Marines, because they
Uh-huh.
have like the logos and everything too.
Yeah,
The U.S. Marines are being contracted by. Did
this
we
company.
did we ever hear what the company's name was?
Can we just call them Wayland Yutani?
Yeah, I mean they basically. Yeah, I mean might as
It
well.
might as well be.
Well, Cameron made Aliens.
Exactly.
So,
That's
yeah,
why.
and they got the giant robot or whatever
Yeah.
in the Marines movie. Shay liked it a lot, right? She loved it. She gave it.
Chelsea liked it too.
She gave it
Chelsea
an 8
loved
out.
it,
Yeah, Shay gave it an 8 out of 10. I'm not revealing what my rating was, but Shay said 8 out of 10.
Avatar.
Well, I already know what my rating is. I knew what my rating is the
I
moment.
kind of knew what I was gonna rate it, but I will say this: I don't hate it. I don't hate this movie at all.
Neither do I.
I was surprised by how I was kind of with the story for the most part. I was like into the characters a little bit. There's some stuff we'll talk about later that I just even like talking about it today. I was just like, "Ugh, I didn't like that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. God, okay. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's fine.
This could just be a fucking free for all. If Mark, if you have something you want to say, I feel like I've been talking. Me and Matthew have been talking.
Well, yeah, Mark, you've been pretty silent.
Yeah. So
Oh,
Mark,
no,
what did you think about the movie?
I actually thought that it was way better than I expected
Okay.
going into it. Like when I first saw it, of course, I was 15. I loved like everything back then, and I was like, oh, like explosions, like action, oh yay.
So you did enjoy it a lot when you first saw it.
When I first,
I know I asked that. Matthew, what did you love it when you first saw it?
Well, I was like 10, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I think I know why I really enjoyed it, but we can talk about that later. Mark, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was really good. Like every single time I like questioned something, I felt like my questions got answered.
Yeah.
Like in the sequence of events that was happening. Like, I would question like, oh, why the heck would our main character who just got this avatar body like try and like disregard what the doctors are saying and just go out on his own and like run around and like do whatever. And then I thought, well, actually that kind of makes sense because it's the first time he's actually like used his feet before, and he's like he's very much like a he's
a Marine.
Well, he's
not
a Marine
scientist,
right? And I think the thing is, his motivation is he comes off as very much like a I'm in the moment kind of guy,
Yeah,
I love this so much. I'm just gonna like do whatever I want, And,
yeah, I kind of got the sense that he was also like trying to prove himself, like prove everyone wrong. Like like all these people doubt me. It's like, and they're like, you need to sit down, sedate him. He's like, no, I got this. And then he runs out. So yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So yeah, you're right. Like there are definitely like we get a lot of like kind of. For the most part, I wasn't just like, why? I mean, there were some moments where I was like, this is dumb and I don't like it. But, I like I like the characters. I like Sigourney. Sigourney Weaver's probably my favorite character in the movie.
She's the best part of the movie.
I enjoy her. I enjoy her, and honestly I enjoy Zoe Saldana as Natiri. I like Natiri's character. Like it's like she brings like this like. Well, I don't know how much I'm sure she brought a lot to it as far as like motion capture and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But for 2009 motion capture, which I mean, compared to today is probably just like the Stone Age. It's weird.
Yeah, like I want to praise this movie on that front of the animation, all that kind of stuff. It's like, I could say like, oh well, at the time this is amazing and it still looks kind of amazing. But then I think, well, a ton of money was poured into this project. So yeah, like it's definitely like millions or like. I think it was even like billions was poured into this project, and it's definitely like you could definitely see it. So I don't want to give it like
the money.
I don't want to give it like too much praise in that aspect because like if you put that much money into it, that's what you should be expecting. So
okay, let me ask you this, like, because this is something I was talking about with Shay last night, like. So outside of like, let's just say with disregarding budget and like how much money they because so much of this budget is clearly just like the visual effects.
Yeah.
Like outside of visual effects, why do? Okay, well let me ask you this first. Let me ask you this question first. Do you guys think the effects hold up pretty well for being an 11-year-old movie?
It's fine. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, no,
there are a couple of parts that look really kind of like you can tell that it's super animated, and you can kind of tell it a couple of times here and there.
Yeah, I
But I
noticed
think
it.
it's
I noticed.
fine.
Yeah, I noticed it specifically, like just what only like really once, really, whereas it kind of stood out to me, and then like 2 hours in, I'm just like, all right, I'm my face is just like my eyes have just adjusted, and I just like it's just this is how it looks. But like the only time I really like, I was like, oh, that looks not very good, is when he first goes out. They go out on their first expedition, and he is getting chased by that creature.
The giant puma.
Yeah. And it's like busting through the bamboo. Like each bamboo stalk is clearly like differently colored to like break, as opposed to like being the rest of the static jungle.
I didn't notice that.
I kind of noticed that to me. It was like clearly like animated differently. Like it was like animated separately, and then they bring it together, and yeah. That's the only time I really noticed it. I think overall it holds up. Like I genuinely do. It looks.
It's fine.
The Na'vi look good. There's like scenes where there's like 50 of them, and I was being like the super pessimist, like looking at their faces, like which ones are just like like just stuck.
Yeah.
Static.
But for the most part, they're the faces are moving. I'm not just like go back and watch. Well, again, 10 years between this and Phantom Menace, but like, or even like Revenge of the Sith. Some of those aliens just look really bad now, but. Outside of budget, why do you guys think like why do you think like maybe those graphics kind of hold up?
I think it's because of the lighting and blending of like
good point.
And like the environments look like incredible. Like when you first see the island in the sky, you know that like and you see that it's like you see like the Jupiter, and how close it is to like it. I think this planet is like one of the moons of Jupiter.
Yeah, it's in our solar system.
Yeah, and so it's the whole like.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, there's like a couple shots where you see Jupiter in the background, and so that like this isn't like some far out like out of this galaxy sort of place. It's like it's actually near us and in a way, and I think it gives it that sort of like realism to be like, well, we don't know, like, it's possible that maybe something like this is actually out there, and it's possible that like, I mean, I was even talking to Matthew about this after we saw it. It was like, or while we were seeing it, it was like, these floating islands. It's like based on our physics, our knowledge of physics, that shouldn't really be possible. But
they just say it's like the flux zone or whatever.
Yeah, and like
it's like anti.
Is that what like explains it, or is the flux zone something different?
Well, are you talking about like how it messes with radar?
Well, yeah, they talk about like the flux zone distorting the radar, but I think the flux zone is also like the floating stones area.
I think it's whatever is.
It's like
is messing with like their radar.
It's like a part of their atmosphere. Like we have like different sections of atmosphere. Like they have this is like flux zone, which just is like messes up the electromagnetics. So and to go back to like your question about like what we thought about like how everything holds up is, I was thinking about it like, there's this possibility that this kind of stuff actually might exist out there, and if that's how it was, that's how it would look, and and how it affects like with radar, or how it affects their environment, how it affects like the fight, the conflict, their whole strategy, So it all like ties in together for me, and I think that it really like that's why a lot of it holds up in my opinion. Yeah, I honestly think a big part of it, and it kind of piggybacks on what you said, is that a lot of the time we see like you can probably go back like something I've watched recently is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
That's the first?
That's the first one of the trilogy.
Of the trilogy.
First one of the trilogy.
Yeah.
It's the second one of the trilogy.
Oh, well, then which?
First. Rise of the Planets, Dawn of the Planets, War of the Planets.
Okay, so I saw Rise then, the one with James Franco.
Okay. Yeah.
And that movie looks pretty good, but like some of the monkeys look really dumb and like not real. Like they look like they're cartoony.
Yeah, you could tell.
And so that's like, I think like a big a strength of the movie is that we don't know what a Navi looks like.
Right.
You know, it's
Yeah.
just like they made this thing. And a big part, I think, is they do not show the Navi next to people very much, and there's very little Navi human interaction.
Mhm.
Aside from the parts where they probably spent a lot of time on, and they had like a solid idea of
Like
what
where
they're doing.
Sully's dying and
Like where Sully's dying,
she
or
puts like the mask on him.
yeah, or like even when there's like scenes with Sigourney Weaver, like when she's dying and she's next to her Navi, her avatar, like they
Mhm.
don't really show the avatar, other Navi interacting with her.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
like that, because that's where you would like be able to be like,
You would be like, oh,
yeah, that looks
Yeah.
really bad. So I think that plays a pretty big part of
Yeah.
it. I think because overall, yeah, I mean, I'd say it's aged fine. You know,
Mhm.
most of the time I think about these CG things and it's just like, ugh, it just starts to look
My
bad
my
after
only
a
like
while.
my only issue with like the Navi wasn't actually like just the designs itself. It was how every single Navi like looked generally the same, even
Mhm.
Sully's avatar. The
Yeah.
only one that was like significantly different was Sigourney's avatar.
Only
Like
because
the
she had like clothes on or her face.
well, like her no, with the clothes fine, but like the face was drastically
Like
different
very
than everyone
distinctly
else's.
Sigourney
Yeah,
Weaver's
that's a
like
good
face.
point. Yeah.
like even like Sully's was like, okay, I could see the parallels
What are
here.
you
Like
saying? You're saying all the Navi look the same? You racist?
absolutely, I'm saying
Why don't
that.
you go
Uh,
ethnically cleanse them? You think they all look the same?
You freaking
Yeah,
space
yeah,
Nazi.
Fascist.
I'm a nuke their
Starship Troopers.
their home world.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. Like I would say they like as far as like the ones we get to like see, like
Mhm.
Natiri's very distinct.
Yeah.
Her mom is the mother is distinct. The father's pretty
Mhm.
distinct, and
Yeah.
then Tetsu, whatever his name is, the
Oh, okay, yeah.
the other guy. Like, and those are really the only ones we really see.
Yeah,
Mhm.
those are the
You know,
characters.
and then the rest just are there to get murdered by.
Yeah, and again, I'm not dogging the movie for that. For
No,
like,
yeah, but yeah,
I don't mean to say that they all look the same.
no,
Obviously,
yeah.
there's
I mean,
clear
they're like
distinctions.
we get to see children, don't we?
Yeah,
Yeah,
But I was gonna
a
say
couple of
outside of
shots
that,
here and there.
yeah, but I was gonna say outside of that, they're all like literally the same height. Like,
yeah.
they are.
so yeah, I can kind of understand that. And
It was just off-putting just to see
no,
like
yeah,
I could be like, oh, that's Sigourney Weaver. Like, I would like because like, it's mainly the nose and the eyes.
yeah,
That's yeah, and like the facial features and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
So
I guess the point I'm just trying to make is that honestly, like the visuals weren't like weren't a distraction to me,
mm-mm.
like
No,
at all. They
they
weren't
weren't
No.
for me either.
like I mean, very except like when like sometimes when we saw the guys in the robo pods and
Yeah.
that was kind of distracting because I
Mhm.
mean it just doesn't look real.
Yeah.
But it was it was fine. Like when the general guys like fighting with the robot at the end, they kind of do the quick shots of him moving and we see the robot move. That was cool. That was a good that kind of
Yeah.
reminded me of like
Yeah,
Pacific Rim.
that fight scene at the end was actually done like really well. You know, it wasn't
All
like
things
painful to
considered,
see.
Yeah, all things considered, the visual effects in this movie have aged fine. Yeah, and
Mhm.
they've
Yeah.
aged good enough.
It's
Yeah,
just
because
like
I
this.
agree.
I feel like the story itself is just so forgettable. It's just
Yep.
like, so like it's so serviceable and like
Mhm.
fine. Like I know none of us. I know I haven't seen it, but it's been compared. It's like basically just Dances with Wolves.
I
Yep,
haven't seen
Which
that.
is
that's what everybody says.
yeah, which is where the Dances with Smurfs joke comes from. Dances with Wolves, Mark, is just basically a movie about Native Americans, Native American Indians, and when this white guy infiltrates them basically, and then
Okay.
becomes one of them, and then they have to fight against basically colonizers.
Yeah,
Isn't that kind of how
I think.
Pocahontas is? Isn't that kind of Pocahontas too?
Yeah, basically. I mean, in a way, but except you know, uh, John Smith doesn't become one of them. He doesn't join the tribe.
that's
you know?
true.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. He does fight the
Dances with
colonists.
Wolves. It's about him. It's with not is it Dennis Quaid? I don't remember. I should
Mhm.
just pull it up on IMDb, but I'm not going to. But the white dude becomes a part of the culture. And
Okay.
he
Yeah.
becomes accepted by the tribe, which John Smith never does.
Mhm.
Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean the story is fine. It's like
What y'all think about the robot designs?
All right, cool.
Well, we could talk about like, yeah, some world building stuff, just outside of like the visual effects and some of that. Yeah, I mean, the technology overall, nothing looked like too ridiculous, I guess. I mean, the most kind of over the top thing were the mech suits, but even those were kind of like, they look like a militarized version of the mech suit from Aliens, the cargo lifter. This kind of looked like a militarized version of that, which is
Yeah.
kind of interesting, like a militarized what's, I don't know what the term is, but anyway, that so
Mhm.
it's all like relatively grounded. I mean, nothing kind of went too far.
No,
and-
yeah. I mean
so,
the everything on the like the human side is fine. Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
nothing. Yeah. I don't know. None of their designs are very memorable. I mean, it's just like UNSC stuff or like
yeah,
you
exactly.
know, but it wasn't like overboard either. Like
Mhm.
it was cool how they had like the tractors were all controlled, or not the
Yeah.
tractors,
The robot
the,
mechs.
the
bulldozer.
bulldozers
Yeah,
were all
yeah.
controlled remotely. That was kind of cool, and they have like the cameras on them. That was neat. Like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, that's probably how a corporation would use
Yeah.
giant bulldozers to wipe out populations of indigenous creatures.
on a
Yeah.
planet. Yeah.
So it's pretty like it was cathartic to like watch them get their butts kicked at the end, like finally see the military get their like comeuppance. Uh-oh.
Oh.
Hello?
Hey, Will, you were cut out for a while there.
You cut out for a second there.
Sorry.
Yeah, for like 30 seconds.
Apartment Wi-Fi, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Am I good? Am I clear?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
good.
you're clear now.
Okay, good. I don't know if that's gonna show up on my recording or not, because I'm
If it does,
recording. It'll
yeah,
probably
no.
be fine. It's gonna look like it's y'all's fault. Haha. No, but this is all recording anyways, so but yeah, no, it was nice to see like the military get their butts kicked at the end. Like that was very like satisfying. That was
Yeah.
probably, that's probably like the one time where I was like emotionally invested. I was like, heck yeah, like get fucked up, because the whole
Yeah.
time they're just like, we're gonna fuck him up, we're gonna beat him up, and it's so
I really didn't like the villains in this movie at all.
Yeah,
Can I
well,
just say that?
yeah,
Like, I just found them
Giovanni
so
Ripsey's
stupid.
really weak, and like he's not a very believable. He's just like,
Um,
haha, money, and it's just like,
Yeah, I hate that character so much. He's
yeah,
just
he's
like,
kind of irritating, and
he's
he's
evil
like,
businessman. It's so stupid.
yeah, and then the general just like wants to. He's not even compelling. He just wants
No.
to fight.
He
Yeah.
just wants
Like
to
that's it.
kill.
He
Like,
just wants to
he's
kill,
like,
and I'm on, and he's like also like clearly like racist because he just thinks they're like subhuman
Yeah.
or
Right.
whatever. So, or speciesist. I guess he's not racist. He's
Subspeciesist, yeah.
speciesist.
Okay,
Species.
But
story.
yeah, and um, the all right. Well, I don't know. Okay, how about this? You guys still have good things you want to say about the movie? Please.
I have a couple of good
Because
things.
I'm done. Because
Okay.
I want to talk about the stuff I don't like. So go ahead and
Yeah.
say
Okay,
your
so
positives.
I'll give my positives because I do have some. Most of what you guys have said, like some of the characters are fine. The special effects hold up fine. To kind of talk about other things, I do like a lot of the world building with just the Pandora looks is pretty neat. Is pretty kind of cool overall. Nothing sticks out really. But just a lot of that, just visually, it looks very pretty and but still kind of looking alien and sci-fi enough. So that's neat. Like the world building stuff, it was stuff that I enjoyed. Not
Yeah, the planet looks amazing.
Yeah, it does. There's not a whole lot more that I can talk about other than things that I didn't like. I will say one thing too. One other thing was the the avatar technology that they used to kind of like when it's showing the conscience, the transfer of like conscience between bodies.
Yeah.
And the first time they're doing it, and we kind of see that like really fast cut to the little like transport like energy wire thing. Yeah.
Like a synapse.
And then and I was kind of thinking because I think the idea, and this is never mentioned in the movie, unfortunately, but I think it would have made sense, is that technology that they're using for the transfer of conscience, they learned that from the planet itself, because the planet, all of these creatures and all of this like life is connected to each other.
Well,
in one way or
I
the
think
other.
that's how Yeah, you're right. They never say, but it's kind of implied that
Yeah.
that's maybe how she developed the technology.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah,
I mean, I
it
like that
is.
idea.
Well, maybe not though, because she doesn't really start to realize that everything's going to planet till like halfway through. Remember? And then
Yeah,
she's,
that's
she's like,
true.
the blah 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 blah. The planet is connected and everything's connected. Which, when they tried to do the whole like to get her to transport her consciousness over to the avatar when she's dying, at first I was like, oh, like what is this? This doesn't make any sense. Why would this work? But then it's like, oh wait, like everything's connected on the planet.
Yeah.
So in movie magic world, sure, like a consciousness could go from um her to her permanently. Like they could have that technology because it's already kind of been established.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole like thing with the avatars have you guys seen Neon Genesis Evangelion?
I know
No,
some of it. I don't
Evangelion,
know.
Evangelion. I don't know how to say the last word, but
no.
that's kind of how they do it in that. It's like how they pilot their mech suits. It's a great
Right.
anime. Ooh, we should watch that. Maybe I should pick that. It's only 25 episodes. Maybe we could like make that like a long-term thing and then discuss it like anyway. But yeah, that's how they do it. Like they actually like their consciousness kind of like bond with like the Evas, which are like
Yeah.
mobile suits. But like they do way more with it. Like the fact that like these like the kids, because there's like 14-year-olds that have to pilot these robots.
Yeah.
Like they can't take it sometimes and it like overwhelms them and they like freak out and they like so they show like scenes of like the not connecting properly and then that's like a plot point.
Yeah.
But they didn't really do anything with that. But it kind of would have been cool because it's like,
Mhm.
well, I guess it just perfectly works like all the time. And there's never
Yeah.
any issues except
Yeah.
when they're just not connected because they show
Or
like
they're
the scene
dying too badly.
or well, and they show the scene. Yeah, exactly. And they show the scene where like Jake is eating his breakfast while Natiri's trying to wake up his avatar.
Yeah. I
But
remember
other
that.
than that, it's like it just works flawlessly all the time, and there's no issues, which is fine. It's like totally cool, whatever.
Okay, so I got my positives. Mark.
Yeah. Did you anything else to talk about?
Let's see here. Let's see. I've already mentioned the action. That was pretty good. The
Mhm.
motivation seemed clear. The special effects were pretty awesome. I think I've actually already covered all of my positives, like everything. Besides, like
It's fine.
I did actually like. There were a couple things that I did like question, but I did like from the majority. Like everything seemed to flow like well. I didn't think of
Yeah.
any sort of like oh why the heck does that work or why the heck does this work? It's for maybe like one or two things, but like so far I didn't really have like much of an issue. That's pretty much all the positives that
Yeah.
I have for this movie.
Yeah.
So if we want to go into like some of the negatives, I can list them.
Yeah. I want to start because
Yeah. You start, please.
something I didn't like is the length. It is
Mhm.
too fucking long, dude. It is
Mm.
way too long. And like so like once the military like comes and attacks the tree and we get like that climax,
Mhm.
it's just like it's almost like we just like start a whole bunch of like we just start like I don't know. To me, it should have been like 20 to 30 minutes after that and then we're done. But it's like another hour and 10
Mhm.
minutes after
Yeah.
that point. And it's like what is we have to like see all the people gather to their new thing and then Sully has to be found out and then Sully has to get the big bird and then
Mhm.
Sully has to reunite the tribes, which I've got some stuff to say about that too. But
Yeah.
and then we get our big battle. Like you could cut out so much of that and
Like what?
like well it just seems like why do we have to spend an hour like okay all right you know what I'm just
No,
gonna
I agree with
because
what,
No,
with
go
I'm
what
gonna
ahead.
you
go
were
no,
saying.
because I'm gonna go into my next point anyways
Okay.
because what I'm saying now goes into my next point. I'm just gonna I guess
Okay.
I'm just gonna end up talking for the next 10 to 15 minutes. But so like the military comes and attacks
Mhm.
and the giant tree burns down
The home tree.
and then it just suddenly like turns into like like Sully the Savior, and it's just like so obnoxious because it's like,
Mm.
first of all, he is literally responsible for the tree getting destroyed. Like he is 100%. He tells the military about the pillars. He tells them what the weaknesses are, and he does literally next to nothing to stop it from happening, other than being
Yeah,
like,
I
"Oh,
actually did
they're coming to
I
get
He,
you."
he's
Woo!"
a
at the
he's a
worst possible
terrible
time.
diplomat.
It was
He's
so
a
Yeah, at the
terrible,
worst
terrible
possible
diplomat.
well,
at
you
the
could say
worst possible
terrible
time.
diplomat. I just call it fucking bad writing. Like,
Well,
and
yeah, of
and
course. Yeah, no
so
competition.
he and so now okay, and so now the tribe doesn't believe him. Fine, like good, like they shouldn't. Like
Yeah.
that's I can fine. Yeah, he's literally like why they didn't kill him is beyond me. And and so or at least his avatar. But then we get like this long thing where he is the savior. He's the one who controls the Turok Maka or whatever. And it's like
Rock Monk 2.
he's the one who unites all the tribes because he controls some fucking bird. Like, what is why? Why is that?
Well,
Like,
they
and
did
I
have.
know, I know they realize he's like there's only been 5 in history, but it's like so just because he captured this bird, it just makes the like indigenous the Navi, it makes them seem really dumb and
Yes,
superstitious.
yes,
Yeah,
Where they're
that's
just
true.
like, oh, he has Big Bird now. We friends. And it's just like,
Yeah,
it's so contrived. It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
Well, and then we just like, they're like, oh, we're not going to follow I don't know his name. We're gonna call him Tetsu because I can't remember his name. It's like Tetsu something. The guy who doesn't like Jake, the
Yeah.
who was supposed to be Navi's lover, until he gets completely cucked by Jake, which really cool, Jake. That was really cool. Like,
Yeah.
but it's fine, whatever. Like, there can be a love plot there.
Triangle.
But like, yeah, love triangle there. But well, I guess it's not really triangle if she has no interest in the other guy. But
Yeah.
True.
I guess it still counts. I don't know what it counts as a love triangle or what
I
doesn't.
don't know.
Who
Anyway,
cares?
and I don't want to get like super socially SJW like it, but it definitely like has like the trope of like the white savior. Like
Yes,
Mhm.
he is the only one who can save them, and it's like
that's what I
he's
was
like
saying.
he doesn't do anything outside of what they could have easily have been capable of.
Yeah.
Get the tribes together. Like there's clearly this huge threat. Like that tree was probably it was a big fucking tree. Like you're just telling me that the other tribes won't come together until some dude takes control of some bird and like
Yeah.
gets them all together. I
Yeah.
hated that. And it's like he's like, brother, excuse me, may I speak? And the guy's like, yes, and he's like, and you can translate for me. And then he's like, we must all unite. And it's like the other guy could have easily fucking said that. He's the leader. Like,
Yeah.
why is it the I know, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to get like
No, no.
I'm not trying to
I
get
agree.
SJW about it, but it's
No,
like,
no, no, no,
oh,
no.
he's the white savior who can do he knows how to get the groups together. They're just dumb.
Yeah.
And it's like I hated that so like
I-
I was getting mad like about
Mhm.
how like you could have done I don't like why like he just shows up on the Big Bird and they're like just and then for the next like 30 minutes it's Turok Makan, Turok Makan, Turok Makan. Oh, oh ho ho ho.
Well,
And
you know
Yeah,
what?
well,
It should have. There some ways you could have fixed that. A couple of ways, I think, is to number one, have him just not instead of have him being like an insurgent and not doing anything to kind of mediate the situation. He
yeah.
could have tried that. He could have at least tried somewhat and been honest
It
about
just
more things.
it just to me it just doesn't make sense. And it's like so to go back to what we would have done instead, just cut all that shit out.
Yeah, exactly.
And how about this? Like, how about next scene? The tribe is just destroyed, and then suddenly, like, oh, like we start seeing these other members start like coming to this gathering to weep with
Mm.
them because they're like connected. Why
Yeah.
don't you explain that? Like, why don't you use that plot point which you've been shoving down our throats through the
That's
whole
exactly
movie?
what I was going to say.
Suddenly, like they're like the Navi are all like desperate, and Jake is sad, and he's trying to like get back on their sides. And suddenly we see like people moving in. It's like, oh, okay, cool, cool. Oh, they're all coming together because they feel the pain of the earth and they have to unite. No, it's the white. Sorry, it's Jake.
No,
Jake has to unite them. But
yes.
so And then like they come together and Jake's like, "Oh, I am so sorry. Let me help. I want to help. Like I caused this problem. Let me help you fix this." And then they like get together. Like that's all the motivation you need. You don't
And in addition to what you were just, because yeah, well, I agree with everything you just said. And
Yeah.
that what you were just describing about all of that happening regardless. Like, yeah, of course the tribes would have come together. They burned down their fucking tree.
I know.
It's like, of course they would be like, oh my God, this is like a huge act of war.
Do we even like hear a throwaway line about why the clans don't work together? Or
No, never ever explained.
Well, I think they say I'll have to watch it again, which I'll have to watch that part again. But the point is, okay, here you go. You trim all of that dumb Turok Macaw shit out. So it's like, oh, like even then it's like, what about his old bird? That bird was cool. It's just
yeah,
gone.
I was thinking about
like
that
what
too.
happened to that? Like they bonded together. That was so cool. But we just get like this off screen of him capturing Turok Macaw. What happened to the other fucking bird? Is he
I thought the same thing.
Like what?
I was like,
is he like an abandoned like lover now? Is he just like gonna kill himself because his Navi had abandoned him? He's just like, I don't have a purpose. So he just like jumps off the side of the cliff and
okay. In fairness, because everything you said was right, but in fairness, there is this point where Jake says that he did release Turok Macaw. He says that he did release the bird. Yeah, he's like,
so
we don't need that.
He was just.
So I guess he just abandoned him for a couple of weeks. I don't know.
That's even dumber. That's even dumber. That's dumb. So he just like gets rid of Turok Macaw afterwards.
It's stupid. No, it's stupid. I'm not even gonna try to defend it. Okay, it's dumb. I'm just so dumb.
It's getting more stupid the more we talk about
it. And the thing you were saying too about like all the tribes coming together and him kind of like trying to get back. You know what would have made more sense? Because I wanted to bring this up as well in my complaints. Because well, everything you just talked about were things that I
that's pretty much it. Yeah. That's all I had to say.
To add to that, like it would have made sense because like Jake is a soldier. He's a Marine. He knows the Marines. He's been with these soldiers before. He could have used that knowledge to help the Na'vi with their battle.
Right. And they kind of touch on that.
Yeah.
I think. But like, oh my God. Okay. Another thing. Why, if these humans are so knowledgeable, why the fuck is that one guy leading a head-on charge against a line of guns? Like I was like expecting him to do something smart. Like, oh, there's like some bait in the fog. Maybe that's like a small group. Nope, it's just a head-on charge and then they retreat. Like
it's the most obvious thing ever. I was thinking it's like, why don't you guys hide in the trees?
Dude, you could have had Jake be like, okay, look, this is their tactics.
Exactly.
Yeah, like perfect. Jake shows up. Ooh, here we go. Jake shows up.
Yes.
Look, I know I've betrayed you, but I know this enemy. I was part of the enemy. I helped them. Let me now help you.
Perfect.
And boom.
Yeah, perfect motivation.
Boom. No bullshit uniting the tribes, no bullshit Turok Macaw. 30 minutes, cut out of the movie, gets it down to that 2-hour mark. We're solid. We are ready to just push through and the movie gets to be over soon.
Yes, I know. Will, I agree with everything you just said.
It's just
absolutely
so
it's lazy. It's lazy chosen one trope bullshit.
Is it lazy though? Because like it's another 30 to 40 minutes of cracking the whip on the visual artist, you know? I mean,
well, maybe that's why I was there, to crack on the whip of the visual artist.
It's so bad and so unnecessary. Anyway, all right. But yeah.
No.
Anyway.
Yeah, no.
That's pretty much
that's pretty much it. Yeah. Because
I have to say, and the ending song sucked. That was garbage. The credit song. I felt like I was watching a Disney movie in '97.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
So yeah,
overall, the music's fine though. I like James Horner's score. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I liked all the native theme like tracks and the chanting and the drums. That was all great. I liked a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, the credit song was weird. So
I have one more complaint, but I'll save it till like the very end.
Yeah, so you voiced most of my complaints. Yeah, just about the whole chosen one thing with Sully is the dumbest thing ever, and it's so unnecessary, and it didn't need to be. I do want to elaborate a little more because we talked about it earlier. I did not like the villains at all in this movie. And here's the thing, that's not new for James Cameron. Like if you think about a lot of his movies, the villains are fairly forgettable in a lot of them. Like the
or
Titanic,
just like not even existent, really.
Yeah, they're almost non-existent, and so I'm not too upset about it. I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of what I expected.
Almost like, yeah, you can actually go back and like, I mean, I guess there's the Terminator,
Yeah.
and then Terminator 2. He did both those movies.
Yeah.
Pretty compelling villains, but for the most part, there's no character there. Like they're just
No.
heartless killers.
Yeah. They're
So,
machines. They're
and then yeah,
machines.
Titanic. There's not really a definable villain. Aliens. There's not really a definable villain, other than the hordes of aliens and then the Queen.
Yeah. So you get to
That's
this
a good
movie.
point.
Yeah. So then you get to this movie and you have like actual antagonists who are clearly evil.
And they're
And I
just
feel
incredibly
like,
dull and
yeah,
poorly
they,
written.
yeah, it just feels weak. And I think I can understand why that's the case if this was his passion project.
Yeah.
So I mean that's the length of my complaints. Just kind of the stupidity of the second half of the movie and the climax and a lot of that stuff was dumb. I do agree. And when I first watched this movie, because I wanted to talk about because we said at the beginning why I like this movie when I was younger. It was kind of like the catharsis of seeing the natives fight back against the human invaders.
Yeah.
And it was interesting for me because when I was younger, I hadn't seen like a ton of movies at that point, especially not a lot of like violent action movies, certainly not.
Yeah.
And this is one of the first movies I saw where the human faction, like the human collective, were by the villains of the movie. And that was interesting for me as a kid. I was like, oh, I haven't seen something like that before. But yeah, so I think there was that when I was younger. Now, of course, 10 years later, that doesn't have as much of an impact on me anymore because I'm like, yeah, I've seen a bunch of movies that are kind of like that. So that's kind of the length of my points. So.
Yeah. I also think it's kind of weird that there's only like 6 humans on the entire planet who question what's going on there.
Yeah.
Like even like, and honestly, like the part where the general's like talking to the military and getting them reared up, they're all like, "Hey, fuck those guys, yeah." And like to me, I'm kind of like, okay, actually, yeah, that is usually how military people would respond to this kind of. But like, there's not a single like, wait a minute, other than our main characters, obviously. Like Michelle Rodriguez turns out. Oh my God, I am so sorry. I just remembered something. Like in the span of like 30 seconds during that battle scene, like all the side main characters like almost die. Like
they just get blown to pieces.
They got their markers. Like, okay, this is where the battle starts to go bad, and here's where it goes good. Like Michelle Rodriguez's HEV explodes. The guy gets shot, and it's all done in slow motion with the and everyone's like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And everyone's like falling. It's like, all right, okay, come on,
yeah,
come on,
wrap it up.
Let's make that corner turn. Anyway, but that part was so annoying because it was so obvious. It was like, oh, they're failing. But you got it. You know what? That's a movie. That's how you do it.
And the thing is, when you're younger, when you're a kid, you don't notice that kind of thing. You don't kind of like see those beats aren't as transparent to you, or at least they weren't to me because I wasn't as familiar. But now that I'm older, that kind of stuff is so much more obvious.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I could just almost like see the entirety of the script. I agree with pretty much everything that you're saying. So Mark, go ahead.
Yeah,
I know me and Will kind of took up
like,
most of that.
Give me some like pushback.
Yes, be honest.
Yeah, like I mean,
be honest.
Disagree. I expect to hear that. Like,
well, I guess I'll start with some gripes too, since we're all like that's kind of like the momentum going on here. What I don't understand is how the whole like sleeping and waking up thing works like at some points during the day, because like I'm imagining like whenever Jake is like talking like the small scene that he has with him talking to like his buddy or whatever, and it's so you know that like he's like he sleeps at nighttime when he's a Navi, and he wakes up at nighttime and he's doing his log or whatever. But I'm imagining those points in between where like he is like a human during the daytime. And I can imagine like all the Navi like around his avatar body just being like, why aren't you waking up? Or like whatever, like even like in the downtime. So that part kind of got me like are you supposed to be sleeping? Like, are you supposed to be like awake during the avatar like days or whatever?
Yeah.
So that kind of
that's a good point, because it's like when he's like, you would think they would have more monitor. Like, don't they can they tell where the avatars are located? They have like a chip in them, right? Like they know where. No.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. And that was
remember,
weird.
They were.
Why
looking
is there
for
no
them.
like? They're like, oh, it's an expensive project, but there's no fucking like.
Tracker
There's
on
a
them.
chip in my fucking cat.
I was thinking that
Yeah.
too.
Like, there's a tracker
Exactly.
in my cat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, put a dog collar on him or something,
A
for goodness
bell.
sake.
Yeah.
So yeah.
On the end of his tail.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that
and
Gotta
so
hear
like,
it. Where is he?
like I was like. I was like, when the scene where he's like, I'm eating, while my
Yeah.
body's about to get destroyed, and the Terry's like, Jake, wake
Yeah.
up! Like,
Time to wake up.
I was like, when
Which
somebody
I find
gets,
hilarious,
when someone
but
gonna be
yeah.
like, oh shit, the avatars in the vicinity of blah 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 blah, it's about to be destroyed, and it's like, oh, I gotta get in my, but no, it's just like happenstance. He's like, whoa,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know what would have been cool in that scene?
it's so dumb.
Okay, you know what would have you know what would have made more sense? You know, honestly would have made more sense if
Yeah.
they knew what was going on and Jake had to rush over to the body and they were trying to contact like the facility, the mining facility, because they kind of realized what was going on, because
Yeah.
maybe they only had a tracker for some reason. That could be like a part of the agreement. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, we keep track of the avatars, you guys do your bulldozing, whatever. And so they try to contact the facility and be like, hey guys, you're about to run over our freaking avatar, don't do
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
then they like can't, because there's bad communication. That would have made more sense.
Right,
But
right.
yes, you're right. You're right,
Yeah.
Mark. It is weird how it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even
I'm
think
like,
about that. It
yeah,
reminded me of what I was
Yeah, I
thinking
didn't
about when
either.
he was sleeping and there were bulldozers.
Yeah. So
Which
it's just
is
like,
why I
so
think
it's
I
like,
brought
what are you
that scene
doing?
up
And like
earlier.
because like the humans already are always like understand, like, okay, he's in the pod, you know, he's in the avatar, whatever. But
Mhm.
the Navi don't know like what's going on, like in the daytime, like why, like he can't just sleep like the entire day. We got to train or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
So
I think there's some
then, like,
awareness though. I think, and in fairness, I think they know that the avatars aren't real. They're just bodies.
well, they
I
kind of
think
like
they know
called
that.
them like
well,
like
they call them the sky people. They call them sky.
Yeah, they
people.
call them sky people.
or they call them like the
Yeah.
demon inside a false body, but that's not
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're right though. Like that, I think it is kind of a known thing almost,
Yeah.
but I guess they don't have a concept of it. I don't know.
Mhm.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like the first time the girl sees like Jake, like or I keep forgetting what her name is, but the first time she sees
Nateri.
him, yeah, Nateri, she knows that he's a sky person, and
Yeah.
she's about to freaking kill him. Like so like she understands, but like I don't know if like before Jake's about to go to sleep, he says, "Hey, by the way, like I won't be up for like a many hours, so
Mhm.
like I'll tell you when I'll wake whenever you see me wake up, like that's that I'm good to go." So I mean,
Yeah.
they don't really explain that, but it definitely does open like a kind of like questions, like, well, like how do they know, or like how do they
Yeah.
deal with this,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or whatever. And then like with that being said, like you would think that if Jake, his entire thing is to like gain their trust,
Right.
so that before that he asks them like the diplomatic questions about relocating,
Mhm.
like they know for a fact that you're not one of that like you aren't technically going to be one of them, despite the whole ceremonial like body painting and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Like, so then like with that in mind, like why wouldn't Jake just like ease in like a question like, hey, like that I'm like part of the sky people, I am here to learn from you, because that actually is like a courteous that would be my way of approaching it, is to get to know the people more before you like ask them these serious questions.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But like you would want to like start off like, hey, by the way, like y'all ever thought about moving? There's a great tree somewhere else. I just saw it, like
Yeah.
and then you can kind of go on from there. But that was like one of my bigger complaints. My other one was let's see here. Gosh, I just had it like on my. We were talking about it earlier, and then I totally forgot it. Oh, I think, yeah. I love the fact that like the girl, the Marine girl, who switches sides, like she doesn't fire her weapon at the tree, and the guys are like, "Hey, where you going?" She runs away.
Yeah,
And, like,
I kind of thought about that too.
It made me think of like Force Awakens, where he does, or FN 2187 doesn't fire his weapon, and everyone like questions. There's like a whole like debacle because of it.
Mhm.
But no one questions like
her
Like,
like,
hey, like,
taking this giant ship and flying
yeah,
away.
like, oh, why is your-
Disobeying
why is your
orders
gun
and
I know.
abandoning the battlefield.
I was literally just like, oh, maybe the guns were too loud and they didn't notice. Like, that's literally what I was thinking. But it's like,
but the
no, it's
guys who were
stupid.
on her plane
Just
could've been-
incompetent.
like the guys on her plane are even like, hey, where are you going? So like,
Oh, do
someone
they really
knows.
say that?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
never
one of the-
noticed that. Oh
One of the
my
jarheads
God.
screams.
I'm gonna report you for insubordination.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, why didn't you shoot? You know, like, is your gun jammed? And she even says, I didn't sign up for this shit. So like, you know that she's like actively disobeying like an order, and that could like lead her to be like
It would have made more
questioned.
sense if she just didn't fire.
And then again, and you know
honestly.
what? Again, like, you could easily, you know how you patch that up? She gets back, she gets put in the same brig with them, and then you have like the chubby lab guy with the glasses and
Yeah,
beard.
the
He
scientist.
can just come in and save them. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that. I didn't even.
It's a
I mean,
fantastic
like I said,
point, Mark.
I kind of just passed it away, but yeah,
because like,
Yeah.
remember, like, he was the one that he could remember. He stayed because they still trusted him. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
because he didn't seem like he was showing any sort of like. Well,
yeah.
honestly, to be fair, he should be like under like supreme suspicion because he was part of the research team who is causing all of this gigantic mess. So I don't know why he
Yeah.
is trusted, but
Yeah.
but that's another thing. I think
They-
another one was
As far as like the they don't put a whole lot of focus on who trusts who as far as like the humans are concerned.
No.
And I guess that's like why it's not a big criticism for me at least. But yeah, I mean it's still a good point. Like
Yeah, it's fair.
some of that stuff happened like the stuff with like the bodies transferring. They don't go into a whole lot of explanation, and for the most part it happens pretty quick. And
Yeah.
so for the most it just goes over my head. But I yeah, I can still see that. Like that's still yeah, it's still stupid.
I think there was like an issue I had with like okay, well, I can't think of any more issues besides the ones that you all have already covered.
Mhm.
So I actually do kind of have like a refuting point to like
Okay.
something that Will
Let's hear
said.
it. Let's hear it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
Maybe you'll change my mind.
well, we'll see. I do agree that like, because like at first I when I watched the movie, but before we talked about it, was like, why the heck would they trust him after he's like definitely betrayed them? But then he comes back on like this thing, so maybe they like worship that. But then I could think, but then I realized that, okay, wait a minute, there really is like, despite him writing this like gigantic
Like their
Turok
legendary
looking
bird or whatever.
legendary Pokemon,
Yeah.
like even if he is sure writing that, like, you can't like, they can't just think, oh my gosh, like you're our savior now,
It's,
even
it's
though
literally like just
even though
a.
you just destroyed them.
It's just a deus. It's a Deus Ex Machina. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Right,
their
that's
way of
exactly what
like
it is.
making him the savior.
Right. So like, and like, I guess like that's, I mean that is like I guess like a one logical solution, but there's definitely way better other ones, like y'all mentioned about like,
Mhm.
hey, I mean, yeah, I kind of betrayed y'all, but I do have all this information. You all just can't like quit on me like this.
Yeah.
But the part where like it's very like it's a small point that like I wanted to refute, but the part where he wants to like tell the people that he of what his great plan is, and then he tells the other
To
main
interpret
dude,
for him. To
yeah,
translate.
to interpret for him. What I think was actually going on there wasn't like him just saying like, hey, can you translate for me so that it sounds better coming from me?
No.
I think of it more of like, hey, I don't want to seem like I'm above y'all, so I'm gonna have someone that you all know like to help speak
No.
with me. So
Fair
we're on even grounds here. And
Yeah.
I'm not like just speaking out to everyone, because
No.
a lot of them
I
do
totally
understand
agree.
English.
That's the clearly the intention there.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, I don't want to be better than you, but it's just it feeds into that same, because but everything they've shown us and everything that he's doing and done is that he is better. He is
Yeah.
better than him. He captured the bird that nobody else has been able to. He's he's literally throwing him a bone, being like,
Yeah.
or well, they never really no, because he probably could say all that stuff in not or
No, yeah, he could have
Yeah, because
spoken.
I think he
speaks.
could.
He's
As far
yeah,
as I
he
know,
speaks Navi. Yeah, he speaks
he's
Navi.
well, I don't know. It's only been like 3 months, so maybe he's not fluent yet. But anyway, they don't even say that. But the point is, it's just this like, yeah, it's a gesture. Sure, I understand that. I get that. Like, but it
Mhm.
still does not work for me. I think it's like
Mhm.
still so condescending and like not saying Jake Sully is condescending. Obviously, I'm saying like the way it's
Everything
written, the way it's
surrounding
written
him.
and structured is
Yes.
just so like icky, and I just don't like
Yeah.
it. And it just
The
it
whole
took me
issue
out
starts with him showing up on the gigantic bird. That's where the entire thing begins.
Well,
That's where all
yeah,
the
and
issues
again,
begin.
I just it could be completely removed,
Yeah.
and you know, anyway,
Oh, I remember another gripe. Okay.
yeah,
This is I think the last one is whenever I think I mentioned this while watching it was whenever like I think the battle is like tomorrow or something like that, and he goes to like the mother, not the tree. He talks to the ancient ones, I think, in that soul forest.
Oh yeah, the spirit.
Um,
It has a name. Awa.
Awa,
Awa,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and he talks to like he connects himself to her and he tries to like speak to her
hmm
to like because he knows that he can't like despite like everyone that he's round up he still can't like do it by himself, and then
yeah,
then he asks her for help
yeah. He
and
tells her to like find Grace and tell her something.
No,
well
look into her memories
oh
Look
right
into her
right
memories
right
and what does he say?
about how Earth was fucked up, and basically be like, hey,
Uh,
this is what they're gonna do to your planet.
and then he could have
Basically.
easily have been like, look into my brain and look at and see the tactics of the military.
yeah
Whatever. That's
but
fine.
the chick comes up and like he tells her like do you think she'll help us, and then she goes like Awa doesn't help, she only like creates the balance of all things or
Yeah.
whatever, and her way of like they're getting like screwed over, and then Awa answers, and it's like she goes Awa doesn't answer, she only like creates the balance. And then she says, Awa has answered. And then like these gigantic like bulls come over and like smash everything in the
Mhm.
which is cool. Don't get me wrong, that's pretty awesome how
Yeah,
that
it is
happens.
all right.
Cool, the
But
planet turns on the army. Yeah.
my
I
thought
like
was
that.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, well, wait a minute. Like, what if like the good guys were like completely owning them at first? Do you think like Awa would be like, there's some imbalance here? wrecking like the good
Let's
guys.
even out the playing field.
That's
yeah,
funny.
So that was I
That would
kind of
have
like
been great. Like
myself when I thought that, yeah.
and it was just like, oh shit. she like pulls the animals back. Oh, whoops.
Like, Awa, what the fuck?
We're on your side.
Ballad.
Yeah, so
That's funny.
it's not really like a gripe, but it's more of like a well, if this happened, then that
Yeah.
would have been a problem. So,
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess yeah, I guess, and for me it's like, and I would like to, let's go ahead and just wrap this up because it's almost 7 now, and I know we got a late start, my fault. But
Fine.
we'll do wrap up, ratings, and then next movie pick, which is Mark this time. But
Yes, it is.
I guess to me it's like, where the fuck do you even go from
Yeah.
this story? Like,
Yeah.
what's the next thing? You bring more humans to the planet to do the whole thing over again?
Is there
Except you just
another
make
tree in
Except you just
danger?
make the stakes higher. Is it like gonna be just literally
No,
Rise
now
of
it's gonna be the whole
Skywalker,
planet.
where
The
there's
whole planet is in trouble
there's
now.
Earth is gonna show up with a
Death Star.
also another complaint. Fucking unobtainium. Are you fucking kidding me?
The name is unbelievably stupid.
I was watching it with subtitles, and I was like, when I first saw it came up, because sometimes you'll read the subtitles before people say the words. I was like, unobtainium. Oh, that sounds scientific or something, in my head. But then they're like, unobtainium. And I'm just like,
oh, you know what would have been great then too?
I just wanted to like strangle James Cameron. I was like,
Will, you just gave a really good writing. Will, what you just said was a perfect opportunity for a writing joke where the guy calls it unobtainium and a scientist corrects him. And he's like, it's called an optimum, dipshit.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah.
That would have been fun.
So stupid. And like, there's no inclusion of like what unobtainium does or is. It's just like a really expensive. Fine. But that's fine. That speaks to more of like what is important to James Cameron and what isn't. Like what's not important to James Cameron. Good villain, like villains at all. Like being a decent writer. That's
Mhm.
like okay, what he cares about is like pretty tight structure, pushing the boundaries of visual effects and
Yeah.
making shit tons of money.
And it's kind of always been that way. I mean, a lot of his movies have sort of done that. Well, especially Titanic and this.
It's definitely like Titanic in this for sure.
Yeah. I don't know
And
about
you know,
Aliens or
I'm sure
Terminator.
when the Terminator movie came out, those movies were probably groundbreaking for the time, maybe.
Well, especially the second one with the Liquid Terminator.
Yeah, I don't even know if that at the time was amazing though. It may have been. It probably was, honestly.
Yeah.
That would have been the 80s, I think. So probably. Anyway,
Yeah.
but
There
like
should have been
so
an easier
so
way
anyway,
of.
yeah, sorry,
There,
we're getting derailed again.
there should have been an easier way of obtaining that unobtainium. Honestly,
I
like,
get well,
like,
and they that's fine.
because
They explain it away with like it's like the largest deposit on the planet. Fine.
right, but
Yeah.
like that's like the humans are not after the tree; they're after what's like
The
around
rocks.
it, the
Yeah.
rocks buried beneath. So you could have been like, "Hey, Navi,
Why don't
we
you like
don't
dig
we
under?
Build a drill.
we don't want to like destroy your tree."
We
Turns
just
out
want
there's
the
a
unobtainium.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff like around you. Do y'all want that? Because like that question wasn't even like imposed. It would have been like,
No.
so
Yeah, and
we're gonna
that's
like just like
fine.
get
I
like a
mean,
shovel, just dig, and then we'll see what happens. Like if y'all want to help us out, that's cool. We'll learn your stuff. That's great. But like we just want this stuff. Like,
yeah.
but no, they're like,
I
no,
don't know. It's all right.
we're gonna bring in this giant
We can
that
bring in this
okay.
military.
Okay, now I have another thing.
Okay.
So they
This is going on so long.
they have the simulation of the gigantic freaking tree that all the Navi live in.
Mhm.
They why the heck? Like they know that they destroyed the tree.
Mhm.
Why not just be like they know they're gonna mobilize or whatever. Like, why not just like try and get the stuff out as quick as possible, then get away? You know, it's like
Yeah, that's
like-
fine too. Well, but it's weird. Like at that point, it seems like the business side is like given up,
yeah,
right?
it's like it's
don't
all
they kind
about
of show
killing
that?
them.
Like Giovanni Ribisi's just like doesn't say another word for the rest of the movie. He's just like,
Yeah,
Which is also strange.
yeah. So, but there's no mention of the corporations are going to stop. But he's
Nope.
just definitely like not. He doesn't feel it anymore.
You-
They
you'd
broke the
think-
tree down. But
Yeah, you'd
and so
think the
and from that point on, it's just like the military are the bad guys, and they just want to like
wipe
murder everybody.
well, okay,
Well,
actually,
No
they,
reason for.
well, they know they're
it's
going
not
to attack.
compelling. It's not compelling.
No, it
They
isn't.
know they're
No,
going
I
to
know,
attack,
but that's all the
you know?
military though. But like
Yeah.
the corporation is just completely out of the equation by that point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you'd think
sure.
the corporation would have been really uncomfortable with the idea of going to war with an entire
Yeah.
like alien race.
Yeah.
Like a tribe, sure, but entire race?
Yeah,
It's
I don't
like-
know. And Giovanni
know.
Ribisi is apparently going to be in the sequel. So whatever any of this means, who knows? Stephen Lang is the guy who plays the general. I couldn't remember his name. He's in a movie
Stephen
called.
Lang.
Have you guys seen Don't Breathe?
No,
No.
It's a good thriller, really good thriller. He was in that very recently. He plays a vet of all things, who is blind, and so the whole
Mhm.
movie is built around these burglars breaking into his house,
Mhm.
and he's like a blind, but he's like super good hearing and senses, and they
Mhm.
get stuck in his house because it turns out his house is like a big old, basically fortress. And he traps
Okay.
them. He
Nice.
traps them in, and it's about him trying to hunt them down. And it's crazy. It's a good movie. But anyway,
That's
nice.
fun.
so where do we go? What do you even do next?
I don't know
What
what
is
I
gonna?
don't know
What do you
I
do
don't
in
know what they
Avatar
do.
2? Like, what?
I think the
what's
only
compelling story?
the only kind of compelling story that you can have, and this is also stupid and wouldn't make sense, but
Trade disputes.
if humanity
Phantom Menace.
if humanity came back not to just gather resources, but actually had to colonize here because Earth was destroyed, and this was the closest planet they could come to colonizing because other planets were more dangerous.
mean,
So
I
the
guess
story
that's
would
also
be
stupid.
about them trying to get
And in addition,
coexist.
and in addition, humanity has no other choice because it's like Earth has been like destroyed or whatever, and
So-
like after wars and stuff like that.
I've done a little bit of research on the sequels, and the only insight I got was again from Wikipedia, is
Sure.
that the movie was delayed because they needed to develop technology better that they were struggling with for doing mocap underwater,
What's mocap?
motion capture.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
for the
interesting.
actors. So I guess there's gonna maybe be like an underwater.
There's
Dude,
unobtainium
can you
underwater.
imagine? No, here's what they're gonna do. there's just going to be this new underwater race that we don't know about, and they're going to be the new bad guys or something.
Oh
Dumb.
God.
Well, because you can't do stuff. You can't do stuff like the Navi in fighting, right? Like they just
No, you
united.
can't. Of
And
course
that would
not.
be that would defeat the purpose of what you established in the first movie, is that
Right.
they're all like one and like together. So you can't do that. But then again, it's like, I don't know. Maybe he just
No.
takes his little avatar body and goes to a new planet, and we just completely forget about the Navi.
I watched that.
I mean, it's called Avatar. It's not called Navi. You know,
That's
I mean,
true. Yeah.
he's just taking his blue body because now he's like permanently sealed to the body now, right?
Yeah, he is. It's just him now.
Yeah. The adventures
Okay.
of the Avatar, I guess. Anyway, all
Okay.
right. So not a whole lot to do. Okay, so let's. I got other stuff to do. So ratings. Let me pull up the.
Yeah.
Let me pull up
Got a little-
the Google Doc,
Yes. Wonderful Google Doc.
and we'll put Avatar. While I'm doing this, Mark, go ahead and give us our recommendation.
Yes.
Oh no.
You haven't thought about it at all, have you?
No, I forgot it was my turn.
I literally just said it.
No, I thought it was my. I thought it was my turn. Like,
It's okay.
like.
Do you need time to? Do you need the time to think
No,
about
no,
it?
no. I'll pick a good movie. Let's see. I don't know if I should choose a movie that I haven't seen or a movie that I have seen.
Either or.
Oh, nice. I already had Avatar typed in. Smart boy.
Nice. Yeah.
Mark, I kind of want you to think about it, though. I kind of want you to spend time.
Yeah, I don't want you to
So why don't
spew it
you
out.
think about it and then message us? It just won't be the
Actually,
video, that's fine.
I just figured it out.
Okay.
District 9.
Okay.
Okay.
I haven't seen that in a while. That's a
Okay.
good
I've never
choice.
seen it.
On the
Oh, really?
topics-
Matthew, you've never seen it? Wow.
Nope.
I figured
Okay,
that would
good.
be a movie you'd seen.
It's
That's
a
great.
decent- I love it.
Actually,
I love that movie.
I recently bought Chappie, which is Neil Blomkamp's robot cop movie.
Oh, nice.
So anyway, but
We have a lot of
apparent-
sci-fi on
it's,
our list.
it's apparently had a lot. Yeah, it's fine. Whatever. Yeah,
no,
no,
it is fine.
The only movie that isn't sci-fi is Good Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Which I thought
okay.
was funny.
All right, let's go starting from youngest to oldest. Avatar
Okay.
rating out of 10. Now we're doing out of 10 now.
Yes. This is the easiest rating ever. 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. Okay.
Yeah.
Very-
it's
very
it's
lukewarm.
not bad. It's not good. It's passable.
All right. Mark,
I'm going to give it a 7.5.
7.5 out of 10. And I am giving it a 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10.
Yep.
Okay.
4
Fair
out
enough.
of 10. After watching it, I was saying 6 out of 10, but after discussing it and the more I've thought about it, the more I despise it.
Yeah.
And I don't despise it, but it's 4 out of 10. I have no reason to ever rewatch it again. Like
Yeah.
there's no part that compels me to rewatch it ever. Like I did it. I think it was a great choice because I want more. I want more movies like this that we can just like have different. Like this is the first movie that we've had like a 3.5 point range because we had 7.4 to 7.5, and that's
Mhm.
great. I love that. So
Yeah, so do I. I honestly do too.
okay.
And yeah, so 4 or 5 and 7.5. Yeah, that's perfect.
All right, and I am going to stop the recording.
Okay.